Paul Pelosi took the witness stand today in a federal trial against David DePape, the man accused of attacking him with a hammer inside his San Francisco home. The 83-year-old said he was woken up by DePape, who was holding that hammer and ties, asking, "Where's Nancy?" DePape told Pelosi that the former House Speaker was the, quote, leader of the pack and that he was, quote, going to take her out. Also on the stand today was an FBI agent who talked about the evidence collected from the crime scene, including a hard drive with pictures of the Pelosi's home and a list of potential other targets, including actor Tom Hanks, California Governor Gavin Newsom, and former Vice President Mike Pence. The prosecution also played an apparent apology by the suspect that he made during a recorded interview with a local news reporter. NBC News correspondent Steve Patterson joins me now from San Francisco with the latest on this. So, Steve, let's start with Pelosi's testimony. What stood out to you?
You know, this was character testimony in its truest sense. We didn't really get what I would call fireworks or an explosive admission or anything that constituted a bombshell. And that was by design from the defense, because there was no cross testimony, because their defense doesn't rely on the fact that an attack took place. They are saying that, in fact, an attack did take place. So what we're left with, again, was sort of filling in the blanks of some of the character work that happened in that house, the fear of being an 82-year-old man. You're woken up in the middle of the night by a home invader and attacker, and all of a sudden you have to start making all of these split-second decisions. The brutality of the attack itself, how he said he woke up in a pool of his own blood, and what that was like, and then the recovery after that. But sort of going back to sort of the intelligence of making those decisions, I think that's what we heard the most about, the impression of just second by second not being aloof, not sort of giving up, the decisions that he's making moment to moment to get to the bathroom, to make that 911 call. We heard a little bit more about that, how he was able to do that, how he stuck on the phone using coded messages sort of with the dispatcher, so he's not necessarily upsetting the attacker who's in his house. Then after that, being forced to hang up the phone, sort of guiding that attacker down the stairs, consoling him when he thinks his big plan is over, and leading the person sort of next to the door, so if police do come, he's able to have sort of an egress out of the house. All of these are decisions that he's making, and we sort of got that sense with him on the stand. Again, no cross-examination. This lasted all of 30 minutes or so. It was very, very brief, but more about the horror of the attack itself, the struggle, the physical altercation. He's trying to wrestle the hammer from DePape, the alleged attacker's hand. He's struck on the head, and then we didn't know this before, but he wakes up remembering being in a pool of his own blood before he's taken to the hospital. And then all of the recovery efforts that have taken place since then, the weeks and weeks out of the hospital, the months that have followed, the consistent pain and the headaches that he's experienced, all of that was in court today. It was at times hard to hear, but I think important character work, again, from the prosecution, trying to pin down DePape and what happened. Stephen? Someone standing over you like that, literally the stuff of nightmares, Steve. So we also heard from the FBI agent the physical evidence and that list of potential other targets. Were they trying to talk about intent there? Yeah, I mean, so I think it was both a physical footprint and a digital footprint, of course, and investigators easily able to track all of this down, because I think the key thing that we learned, we've known before, but we really learned today, and this really was what the entirety of today was about, was that this was a guy sort of not shy about what he was doing. He was not either good at or cared about hiding the trail that he was leaving, both in the purchase of these items, in which multiple investigators with the FBI, Capitol Police, local police have testified to the items that were found in the multiple backpacks that were left on scene, and then able to trace each item to a digital search history through Amazon, through locators that all sort of led back to DePape. And then sort of with his intent and what he was planning, this was a guy with a hit list that included Tom Hanks and Adam Schiff and Gavin Newsom. All of the search history is there, and they found it really easily, able to track down the names, the addresses, the pictures that you mentioned on the hard drive. All of that was really there in plain sight, and that's what investigators were testifying to, almost line by line, item by item, being able to point it back to DePape. There was even a BART investigator who was there today, walking us through, showing us sort of camera footage of DePape going step by step on each train, making his way closer to the house. It was really stark to show how much evidence they have against DePape, which, again, I think is part of the reason why the defense is not saying that this didn't happen. They are arguing sort of the spirit of why this happened, that DePape was more caught up in these conspiracy theories and not necessarily trying to prevent a public official from doing her job, as the federal charges imply. Stephen.
And along with that evidence, the video allegedly showing him entering the Pelosi's home. A lot of evidence stacked up there. Steve Patterson, thanks for breaking that down for us.
You got it.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.